In this story, we meet three characters: Esther, her uncle Mordecai, and Hatak, who is kind of like Esther's helper assistant. Oh yeah, and that's because Esther just so happens to be the queen. And Esther also happens to be a Jew, which is kind of a secret, but it's also really important to this story. When Esther becomes the queen, she goes to live in the king's court, and normal people, like Uncle Mordecai, aren't really allowed to be there. But one day, Esther sees Uncle Mordecai outside the king's gate dressed in a sackcloth, which in that time was kind of embarrassing, and if you really want to get down to it, in present time would still probably be embarrassing. But Esther recognizes this as a plea for help, so she sends Hatak to see what's wrong. So Hatak goes and talks to him and learns that Uncle Mordecai has overheard a really important official of the king's plan to kill the Jewish people. What? And Uncle Mordecai is like, you have to do something. And at first, Esther is afraid and sad. And she's all, I don't have power to do anything about this. Because even though she is the queen, she was still a woman in a period of time where, well, women didn't have nearly the power that men had. So Hatak goes back to Uncle Mordecai. But Uncle Mordecai then says to Esther, Esther, what if you were here in this position for such a time as this? And Esther is shook. Together they make a plan, and they get all the Jews in the land to fast for 3 days and 3 nights, while Esther fools the king into getting what she wants, and she saves her people. Without Uncle Mordecai and Hatak, and the help of the Jewish people and Esther all together, this change wouldn't have felt possible. But together, all these people with different amounts of power and places in the world played their part strategically and overcame what otherwise seemed insurmountable.
I think when I hear this question are moments in friendships where I've been able to walk alongside a friend in moments of grief or anxiety, and I don't know exactly that I felt like I was the only person that could have done that, but by nature of building a strong friendship and being present at the right moment, I feel like I was able to care for people in ways that really mattered and changed our friendship and deepened my understanding of what we can be to each other, and that's been really meaningful. And yeah, I think when I think of being the right person at the right place at the right time, I think a lot more about friendship and that you've been building that over a long time. And it's about showing up every time so that at the times that it really matters, you are there.
I mean, there have definitely been times when I have thought, oh wow, I'm glad I was here right at this moment. That happens enough that I don't remember really specific times, but there was this one day that I can remember. It's kind of similar. I had just finished my first aid CPR class that I was taking at school, like that day, and my sister and I were going to volunteer at the Cinco de Mayo festival, painting faces for people in Portland, and I was meeting her downtown at the waterfront, and right as she walked up to me, there was like a really bad car crash right in front of us, and I was like, oh my gosh, like it was loud, there's like pieces of the car around, and I was kind of stunned, and then I was like, hey, I know what to do now. I can be the one to help instead of just like hope someone else knows what to do. So I did that. I did what they taught me to do, like introduce yourself and say you're certified and all these things, and like try to keep the people from getting out of the car because they might have spinal injuries, and like more people showed up to help, but I was definitely the first one because I was right there. And that was a little bit unsettlingly miraculous.
Yes, and I think more than anything, it was a feeling of like, okay, I'm here right now, and this person needs this thing that I can provide, so I'm gonna do my best to provide it. And then after that, felt very good. I was like, okay, cool, I helped this situation.
I think it's when a bunch of people can get together over something and something just clicks a specific way, and there's some kind of spark that ties a lot of those people together, and hopefully it's for something really good and they make each other happy in the process.
Community to me is any unit of people that come together around a common purpose.
Community is found wherever, or at least for me, I find community in people, and usually it's people who make me feel very seen and cared about and wanted.
I think that one really unique thing working at camp is that I get to live in community all the time, a lot of the time. So in the summers, I live alongside the summer staff, and when campers are here, I am a part of their community. And I think that there's something really countercultural about living a life that is fundamentally about community. And I think that the world in which I wish were more real, were more based in community, and that's part of why I do the work here. And I think that the thing that makes life special at camp is that the focus is on community. And I think that we can be better for that.
What's unique to my camp community? I mean, it's here, which is pretty unique. But also I think that all of the people that are a part of my camp community are so inherently kind and loving, and come into this community with that there, which just amplifies it, which I think is pretty unique.
I think when we can try to see the things we have in common, that helps. I also think just trying to get to a place where we can empathize with the places that our needs are different is helpful. But I think that that's why living in community is important, is that it does teach us that there is a world outside of ourselves and our own needs, and recognizing that and understanding that trains us to recognize it and see that in others. And I think that expands our sense of compassion and expands our sense of possibilities for solutions in the world. And that's what I hope living in community does for me ultimately, so that when I am confronted with situations where our differences feel insurmountable, I can rely on the empathy that I've built over time by living intentionally alongside others to support me and give me wisdom.
Communities often have a common purpose, but that purpose and the people who are working toward that purpose may not always see things the same way as each other. And I think when there are competing needs, conflicting views, I think the best opportunity, as I think of it, is to consider where there is common ground, and if that common ground is enough to be able to support that collaboration.
With patience and compassion and understanding that whatever side each party is coming from is most of the time their reality, and feels very real to them. And that, I don't know, I think that that's just important to remember when dealing with conflicts, is like, particularly thinking about if people are upset about things, they're upset for a reason. And to them that's very real. And so, yeah, approaching it with compassion and understanding, but also patience and boundaries.
How do you know when you are the person that can bring the most change or can offer a breath of fresh air? How do we know that?
How do you create community? What can you do to strengthen your community?